Hello and welcome to Small Business Snippets, the podcast from smallbusiness.co.uk. I'm your host, Anna Jordan. Our guests are Myleene Klass and Jamie Barber. Klass is a TV and radio presenter, designer, classically trained musician, and former member of pop group Hearsay. Barber is a restaurateur and was an investor on BBC series £1 Million Menu. Jamie and Myleene met at the school gates as their daughters were best friends. Fed up of lockdown cooking, the pair concocted a solution to home cooking fatigue and boring takeaways. My Supper Hero was founded in 2021 with delivered meals that are put together by a team of chefs with less than 10 minutes of prep time at home. We're going to be talking about finding ethical suppliers and just what it is that makes a food business great. Hello guys, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Hi.
All great.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. So I'm just going to get straight in here. Food prep, food delivery services is becoming an increasingly crowded market. So what sets My Supper Hero apart from the likes of, say, Gusto and HelloFresh?
It's funny actually, because I'm not sure it is that crowded market in what we're trying to do, because I think that particularly over lockdown, Myleene and I were both in similar situations with our families, and that we were kitchened out. We'd had enough of the daily grind of deciding what to cook, buying the ingredients, cooking it, shopping it, peeling it. We were also, I think, quite takeawayed out. So I think there's a limit to how many times a week, certainly, you can have fast food delivered to your home. And all we wanted to do was to eat really, really brilliantly at home with very, very little effort, and then go and do other things with our lives that we wanted to do, like watch Netflix or catch up with friends. And although one would think that that was a really crowded space, we couldn't find that solution. We tried some of the basic recipe boxes. We found the amount of time to put those things together a lot longer than we were expecting and wanted. We were finding the recipes quite basic, and we were searching for an alternative. And that's how Supper Hero came about, which was just a very, very strong focus on eating really, really well in a short amount of time. So this is about high quality plus speed.
Also, I think with those boxes and with the general market, the amount of packaging, I can't believe it. It's criminal. In the day and age of where we're so aware now of what's going on with our planet, I still cannot believe that there is no solution until, well, hopefully with what we're doing, we've got compostable boxes. We're very, very aware of how we're putting these boxes together and making sure that it's as economical environmentally as possible, but also with just how we're using our packaging. So that's also a huge part of it for both of us.
So there's a lower volume of food or of components.
Low volume of components, but actually, for example, somebody saw our lettuce. It came in this little, we have the most beautiful hydroponic lettuces. They're like little rosettes, and they come in these little boxes, little plastic packages, assuming a plastic package. Actually, what you see is it's plant-based, it's compostable. And so it shows it is possible, because someone questioned when I was making a video about it, and I'm like, no. You know, I'm not part of a blended family. It's 5 children. We do want to hand that planet over to our kids. And I just think it's really terrifying when many corporations aren't finding solutions to something as basic as that, when people are really feeling rightfully very, very passionate about it. I think ultimately, you know, what Jamie was talking about there is everybody's got that sort of, I suppose, what's the equivalent of scrolling fatigue, but in the kitchen. You've only got a few recipes that everybody's got up their sleeve before you're like, what are we going to do now? Yeah. And I hit that mark by Thursday.
I know. One of them is definitely beans on toast, always.
Oh, there you go. But you can still enjoy that, but at the same time, it's nice to just have all the hassle taken away. Our line, which is, I think, our absolute mantra, I live by it, is, less chopping, more chatting. That is exactly where I am in the kitchen.
And how did you go about finding this target market that you were looking for, and who would want your products?
Well, we are it. How many of your friends do you speak to? They're like, what are you making tonight? Oh, I got a box in. And then you just think, oh, well, how long is that going to take to chop and peel? It's for us. And I think that's what's so nice. We haven't overthought it, because I said to Jamie one day, I just can't think of anything to make now. And I just don't want to spend hours making it. I just want to be with my family.
It's funny, actually, because Mylene's absolutely right. It wasn't contrived. It was built very much for us. And it was totally, I'm a good cook, and I cook quite a lot. But there are things that I just wouldn't cook at home because it just takes too long. And I didn't talk to you about this, Myleene, but we are kind of uncovering new audiences on a daily basis. So even yesterday, a guy called me and said that he started to spread the word to his friends and that they use Airbnbs quite a lot. And when you rent out an Airbnb, what you don't want to do is turn up there and have to cook. So they're ordering superheroes to their new destinations in advance so that when they arrive there, they've got something to cook in 10 minutes. It's not something I'd even thought of before. And I think that people are kind of discovering it and using it in their own ways. And that's kind of part of the fun of it.
This is what I'm saying, the audience, you can't just decide who the audience is going to be. It's ever evolving because so much has changed now, from the tech side of things to the prep side of things to what we want and how fast we want it and what we expect to get for our money.
I understand that you guys were going to go for a membership model, say you get access to features and special menus or dishes that aren't available to non-members, but then decided against it. For our listeners who are sort of considering a membership model and the pros and the cons, could you walk us through a bit about that thought process and why you decided against it in the end?
Well, actually, we didn't decide against it. What happened is that we want in our lives Superhero to be a regular part of our weekly meal cycle. I don't perceive this. Myleen's slightly different, actually. You would have it every day of the week if you had the opportunity to. But I think for most people, this is part of their weekly meal cycle. So once a week, you get to eat fantastically well at home. And I personally find the sort of subscription services where you're tied into eating 4 or 5 meals a week from the same service, I find that quite stressful and a bit of a bind. And it also takes up such a large amount of your week that actually gives you the inability to try and choose whether, I can't go out on Wednesday because I've still got one meal left over. So I find that quite stressful. So we wanted people to have it once a week, maybe again on the weekend. And so originally we started naively with a very soft, what we would call subscription model, but there's no ties to it. I say naively because we set out to do this and thought that the technology to be able to do that would be really, really easy, and found out that it was really, really difficult. And so within literally 3 or 4 weeks of launching, we found that we were actually having to do most of the work manually, and it was impossible. So we pulled that service until we built the technology to go back to a meal planning service. Right. And that should hopefully, all things being equal, go live in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, having spent 4 months building the tech.
So what kind of difficulties did you face?
We originally thought that you could buy off the shelf a subscription technology platform, and quickly found out that if you had a razor or a pen and you were sending the same razor out or the same pen out on a regular basis, that is really, really easy. However, if you wanted to choose which meal you wanted, swap one meal for another, have varying prices, that was really, really difficult. And there are a lot bigger companies than us that have spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on developing that technology, but we're a lean startup. So we've had to do it in the kind of lean startup way. So we found some fantastic developers that we like to work with, and we've been working with them for the last 3 or 4 months to build out this hopefully fantastic tech platform, which will be ready in a few weeks.
Fantastic. Actually, on that note, you say you're trying to be lean, of course, as many startups are, especially for a food tech business. What kind of tips do you have to try and keep costs down in the early days?
I think there's an old model, which is like you throw all of your costs into accelerating as quickly as possible and just blow a load of money very, very quickly. And actually during this stage, we've really done very, very little marketing and very little outreach because we've been focused on the product. The most important thing is to make sure that those meals are brilliant. So what we haven't done is to go and suddenly take a big check and then spend it all on PPC adverts and Instagram ads and just trying to run before we can walk. At this stage, it's just about really making sure the product is incredible.
We also wanted to understand who our customer is. I mean, I dare say that Jamie deep dives so much into who is our customer that you almost know them all, I say, on first name basis and what their orders are going to be. I really admire that, just a real understanding of who the customer is and what they want and how they're using the service. Also, if you talk about what the initial challenges were, it's a good challenge to have, but we always said that we were going to soft launch in the area that we both live in, which, Jamie and I live like less than a mile away from each other. But then in order to really test what the product could do and send it out in the way that it was intended. We then had to try and grow as quickly as we could, but then you have to then try and make sure that you can insulate yourself towards those challenges. So suddenly we're going out to Wales and to Scotland, and with that comes its own challenges. It has to be obviously safe, it has to be carefully done, it has to taste as good as you say it's going to taste, and people are taking your word for it, because until they've tasted it, they don't know what they're going to genuinely get.
I suppose knowing your customer as well, it helps you set the brand's tone of voice, well, from the off, really.
I've really enjoyed, from the marketing side of things, finding what the handwriting is, finding what the photography was going to look like. I love the retro feel behind it. I love how beautiful and vibrant and classy and chic, the website looks. So it's the whole experience. It's not just about trying to get someone to pop something into their basket. It's ultimately about the experience from start to finish. This is my first experience of a hydroponic lettuce into a farm that grows along a wall. I'm like, how incredible is that? So again, it's really sustainable, and it's also done with optimum taste in mind, and everything that we say, that our company stands for. So I think, if people don't even necessarily know the ins and outs of it to that level, it's groundbreaking from that perspective as well.
And actually, I went to go and see the farm today, funnily enough, and it's fantastic to look at. It's absolutely brilliant.
And how do you make sure that your suppliers' ethics match up with the ethics of your business?
I mean, I've been in the restaurant business for 20 years, so I've got quite a lot of knowledge about supply chain, and we've specifically chosen suppliers that match our values. There used to be, I don't know if it still exists, but there used to be a very good organization called the Sustainable Restaurant Association, the SRA. And at one point, they did have a list of the suppliers that they endorsed or recommended. I don't know if that's still live, but on the Supper Hero website, I think under the frequently asked questions, there is quite a lot of details of our suppliers, and so people are always free to reach out to our suppliers and see if they can provide them with some business.
Hello, Editing Anna here. The SRA does still exist, and I've put the website and the link to the suppliers list in the show notes and the transcription. Now back to the podcast. Great. And coming back to, I suppose, the food businesses in general, and I think, Jamie, I want to ask on this. Some of our listeners will have, say, a cafe or something that they want to expand into maybe one or two more branches, or maybe they want to go global. When you're right at the beginning, how do you create a scalable food business?
I think for the most part, people that have set out to make a business from scratch that is scalable have probably failed, because I think you're thinking more about the economics rather than the product. And if I've got when I did that show, when I did £1 Million Menu, one of the things that was quite apparent is how people just love and engage with food all over the place, whether it's quick service, snacks, grab and go, fine dining, cooking at home, whatever it is, people just love food. They love understanding food. And at the end of the day, I keep going on about it, but it is the product that's going to, that is the tail that wags the dog, rather than vice versa. I don't think that you can set out to create something that's going to be a global scalable business until you've really sussed out what your real core product and your core value is. And that's where we are. We're on the beginning of a journey.
Absolutely. And Myleene, you said in the past that you don't profess to be the best at anything. You're just not frightened of anything. You just really go for it. So how have you really taken that mindset and brought it into business?
So whereas my background in business is very different to Jamie's on the face of things, actually it's the same. It's customer service. And Jamie's absolutely right. It's about making sure that the customer gets what they want. First and foremost, I provide that service, but ultimately I'm also a customer. And so, I've had a baby brand in this country. It's the longest running baby brand. It's coming up to 16 years. And when you're working with children, that's something where you have to make sure that the safety elements and the requirements are second to none. They really have to be stringent. So it's the same thing, I suppose, when it transfers over to food. You have to be really, really careful about what it is you're putting together, and you have to have an understanding of what it is the customer wants and expects. And I myself, whilst I don't want to spend hours in the kitchen, I love my food. I love the presentation of it, and I love what it brings together, as Jamie was talking. And you have said that it's, I suppose, a essentially an oversubscribed market, but is it? Everyone still needs to eat. Everybody's looking for that new place to eat or that new experience, and everyone wants to talk about this. Did you try this? Have you tried it with this? I made this the other night. So actually it's forever evolving, and that's the side of it that I really do enjoy. I love connecting with people. I still want to eat. I still want to make good food for my family and for my friends. I still want to make an event of it, and I think that's why the combination of both myself and Jamie, it's been actually a really refreshing one, a really enjoyable one, and I've learned so much from Jamie as we've been going along. And at the same time, there's so many things that are just massive similarities when it comes to business, and it is the product. I love going to the tasting evenings at Jamie's house, which are just quite an event in their own right. I go with my Tupperware because I end up bringing so much of it home. But I love that side of it too, because it's genuine. It's, would I eat that with this? How would I eat this? Is this something that would dive in with our hands? Is this something that the combination of these flavors, is this something that is familiar to a more general audience, as opposed to, it's those conversations that I really do enjoy, in that discovery.
So the light bulb moment came for me when we were first talking about the idea for Supper Hero. One of my chefs, I said to him, look, what do you cook at home for your family? Not when you're in a restaurant. What do you cook? And he said, I might get a lamb shank from a local butcher, and I'll probably marinate it for sort of 48 hours in lots of different Mediterranean type of ingredients like feta and apricots and olive oil, and then I might glaze it and have it just with some tzatziki made with some hung organic yogurt and a flatbread, and I'll just grab a piece of the flatbread and dip it. So I said, I'll tell you what, can you do one of those? I want to get Myleene over and see what she thinks. So I called Myleene. I said, would you come over and try this? She came and I said, it's lamb. And Myleene's face sank, okay? And she went, I'm not really keen on lamb, just to let you know. Anyway, she finished the whole lot. It was gone. Within 5 minutes, it was gone. And that was like, people do like to be surprised.
That was a good surprise. And I did come with a bit, I did come with my judgment. I was really disappointed that we were having lamb. And Jamie's quite right.
I suppose so. It's the strengths and weaknesses, it's your experiences that work together and that can help you build from where you are.
100%. There's no point of us both doing the same job. It wouldn't make any sense. That's actually what I've enjoyed about it. So we've both got different experiences in different fields, but ultimately we both care about the customer. We both want to be able to put our names to something that we feel very, very strongly about and very proud of. And that's why we've, as Jamie said, it's starting small, but it's very firm footsteps. And it's giving us a real understanding of what our customer wants, which again is invaluable information. And I think that's something that, as you were talking before, it's very easy to skirt over that, looking as to what your eyes are on the prize. But I suppose you have to figure out what the prize is first.
It's a much more enjoyable process having a partner like Myleene, that we can just share feedback and spar a bit and just kind of feed off each other's energies. I really enjoy the kind of journey with a partner rather than just doing it solo. So same way, but
same. I mean, mine gives me Tupperware boxes of lamb to take home. Look, we've got the toughest audiences. We've both got families. We've got kids. I mean, those are the toughest audiences. So the rest are quite easy in comparison.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I don't think I can top that. So I think I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast, guys. It's been great.
That's a great pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You can find out more about My Supper Hero at mysupperhero.com. You can also visit smallbusiness.co.uk for more on starting a food-based business. Remember to like us on Facebook at Small Business Experts, follow us on Twitter at Small Business UK, all lowercase, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, linked in the description. Until next time, thank you for listening.